Breaking overnight, former President George H.W. Bush died Friday at his home in Houston. He was 94 years old. ABC 57's Vahid Sadrzadeh talked with former Notre Dame men's head basketball coach Digger Phelps about his relationship with the former president.
We talked about a minute. He knew it was me. He knew why I was calling, and I explained to him I was going to light her a candle at Notre Dame and pray for her. And as I said to him, I said, George, you're still the head coach down there. Make sure everything's getting done the right way. And I was so glad that I talked to him and heard his voice.
That was the last time the legendary coach spoke to his friend and former President George H.W. Bush. It was a friendship that lasted the final 45 years of Bush's life. At that time, an ambassador to the UN, H.W. made a huge impression on the young Notre Dame coach.
I just think that he, as a leader, to me, was unbelievable. And he was always grateful for anything and everything you did.
And to Digger, who served the 41st president in the National Weed and Seed Program, always generous with his time and holding him close in his inner circle.
His last weekend in the White House, he invites my wife and I to Camp David his last weekend. It was like January 20th, back in 93. And the only other people there were the Supreme Court justices.
The two also making a stop that the coach would never forget.
When Notre Dame played Texas A&M, that was about 2 weeks after 9/11. And I went down and met him at his presidential library at where Texas A&M is at College Station. I'll never forget, we're going around, he takes me out back and he shows me his little daughter's grave, and he also shows me where he and Barbara will be laid in rest.
Barbara Bush laid to rest there on April 17th. In her final moments, George next to her, as he was for 73 years.
But for him to be at her side all day and hold her hand, and the family be around all that as she took her last breath, that was typical of who they were and what they were. It was always family.
For Digger, George was family. For Digger, the Bushes will always be family. And that, for this legendary coach, will always be one of his greatest victories.
To them, it was never about culture, never about religion, never about color of skin. It's who are you and what can you bring to the table so we all win. And that's vintage Bush.